Previously on Death in Entertainment.
It was Heaven, the nightclub where Freddie was chatting with a handsome flight attendant from Quebec one night. They had previously been introduced in New York City by a mutual acquaintance. His name was Gaetan Dugas. Although their conversation was brief, little did Freddie know that he was the man who would be dubbed Patient Zero of the AIDS epidemic.
No fucking way.
Wait, what? He was infected by Patient Zero.
No way. That's fucking insane. We know who Patient Zero is? I had no idea.
Well, I'll get to that.
Oof.
So now we're going to backtrack a little. The Big Bang Theory. So that happens. And then let's go to 1908, Belgian Congo.
Oh my God, we're going way back.
So we're in the Belgian Congo, 1908. A hunter from the Bantu tribe sets a trap and catches a chimpanzee. Unbeknownst to the man, the chimp is carrying a deadly virus known as SIV, Simian Immune Deficiency Virus. As the hunter goes to spear it, the chimp bites his hand, really chomping down. The virus immediately begins to replicate aggressively inside the hunter because they're virtually identical, chimps and humans, the
As
DNA
far as like
makeup.
the systems and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So he brings back multiple carcasses, including this infected chimp, and he brings it to a marketplace nearby, sells the carcasses to be cooked or smoked, and then he goes and buys a couple of prostitutes.
Oh my God.
And so at this point,
And they all go to a Queen concert.
the fatal cycle has begun. According to the New York Times, the virus spread to Haiti around 1967, most likely by one of the thousands of Haitian civil servants that were recruited by the United Nations to work in the former Belgian Congo after colonial rule collapsed.
So the UN did it. So this sounds like a conspiracy theory
This is
now.
an international conspiracy.
Yeah.
A private blood center opened up in 1971 in Haiti, and they exported tons of contaminated plasma to the United States, namely New York City.
Yeah.
And by the way, Haiti was also a popular sex tourism destination for gay men. By 1976, the virus had spread to San Francisco.
And then in 1981, the first cases of AIDS were reported.
Scientists at the National Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta today released the results of a study which shows that the lifestyle of some male homosexuals has triggered an epidemic of a rare form of cancer.
The epidemic is of AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency disease.
AIDS is caused by a virus. In a healthy individual, there are twice as many T helper cells as T suppressor cells. In people with AIDS, this ratio is reversed.
It was called gay cancer.
Jesus.
No jokes. Then GRID, then AIDS.
GRID was the short for gay-related immune deficiency.
A doctor came up with that?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what's shocking about this time period.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to call it, and it was so disrespectful. You can just tell by the way they're naming the disease. They did not give a
it's
shit.
gay-related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some immune deficiency or
Which
something.
means
GRID.
it's only happening to gay people.
It's funny when they think they put in an acronym, it sounds professional.
Yeah.
They're like, we're off the grid.
Yeah.
We're good.
And then when they finally land on a name, they decide to screw over this diet pill company that was called AIDS with a Y.
Really?
Yeah, there was a thing called AIDS
Well, fuck diet pills.
that helped you lose weight.
Yeah. It was probably crack.
So they don't know if it's being spread through sex or they thought poppers for a while because it was only happening to gay men.
Yeah. And poppers were big for like orgies and stuff.
Yeah,
within the
if
gay
you've seen
community.
Behind the Candelabra,
Yeah.
you'll know what I'm talking about.
As well as the JFK when Tommy Lee Jones' character in I don't know if you remember that.
Now that you mention
That
it.
was wild.
Yeah, I do remember a wild scene
There
with
was-
Tommy Lee Jones.
and Joe Pesci in white wigs and Kevin Bacon. Throw him in the mix. You gotta watch this.
Yeah.
Wait, there's a scene of a movie with Kevin Bacon,
Tommy Lee Jones,
Tommy Lee Jones,
and Joe Pesci.
and Joe Pesci in powdered wigs.
Powdered wigs where they're doing poppers
Together?
and they're sucking and they're fucking.
What?
Yeah.
And
Oh
it's a
my
movie
God.
about the JFK assassination.
Yes.
Wait.
This
Okay.
has everything you love, Kyle. You should watch it.
We'll add that to the Dipod watch list.
Yeah, please.
So there was a study in 1984 that was studying the clusters of gay men and where the virus was prevalent. And they traced the sexual contacts of 40 gay men who were showing signs of the disease, including Kaposi sarcoma. That was one of the first signs you had AIDS. It was a skin cancer, and you'd have like blotches of red dots, usually starting on the foot.
Yeah.
Lesions on your face,
Like the
everywhere
movie Philadelphia.
eventually. Yeah, like Philadelphia. 8 of the men had had sex with a then unidentified flight attendant with a funny accent. He was labeled case 057, as in number 57, and then the letter
Passenger
O,
57.
the letter O,
Wesley Snipes.
which meant out of California, because that's where the study was. So it meant this is a case outside of California.
Okay.
But then some bureaucratic error where someone mistook it to mean 0. And so that's where the patient 0 myth started. The man's name, Gaetan Duga.
Okay.
He had been cooperative with investigators since first showing symptoms of what he thought was skin cancer in 1980. He even gave them 72 names and answered every question they had. Duga,
72 names of people they had sex with?
yeah,
Jesus.
This guy's this guy's getting
yeah,
around.
because he's trying to be helpful. But unfortunately, he also wasn't helpful because he continued to have sex and be promiscuous because he believed that he had cancer. And
Shit.
according to him, you can't catch cancer.
Yeah. Well, no one knew like it was gonna become the disease it became because it's like the freakiest thing out there right now.
And with the lens of gay liberation, what was the number one thing you had to do in order to be a free gay man at that time? Have as much sex as possible. So to take that away from these men was a huge thing because they had worked so hard to get to that point.
Yeah.
So Gaetan died in March 1984. The community started to panic, as in the gay community. Nobody was taking them seriously. There was a manual that was released in 1983 called How to Have Sex in an Epidemic, which suggested using condoms, among other things. And then the gay men's health crisis was formed. The Reagan administration didn't give a shit. They turned their back on the gay community.
No.
There's a famous clip of White House Press Secretary Larry Speakes laughing about AIDS when he's asked about it in 1982.
Yeah.
And making very homophobic jokes about it at this press
Nancy
conference.
Reagan didn't care for it much either. She just didn't. They all turned their backs.
No, so it's basically a culture war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when I think the cruelty of the Republican Party really started to show.
Cruel. I mean, they were
Yeah.
just leaving these men to die.
Yeah.
And it was happening fast. It was a pandemic.
Yeah.
And they just let it spread. They didn't give enough research. They didn't give enough money
No.
until it was too late. And so that brings us to summer 1982. Queen played 2 sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden as part of their Hot Space tour, which was a disco-themed album that flopped.
Yeah.
During breaks, Freddie hit the New York City clubs as hard as ever. The North American leg of the tour ended in September. The band briefly went back to England before flying back to New York to be the musical guest on the season premiere of Saturday Night Live, hosted by Chevy Chase.
Really?
Oh my God.
Freddie appeared under the weather when he performed Under Pressure and Crazy Little Thing Called Love.
Under the weather.
I'm under the weather. So Freddie had just recovered from what he deemed as the worst flu ever. He also had a white lesion on his tongue that he had a doctor look at while he was still in New York City. Later diagnosed as hairy leukoplakia. Unfortunately, these matched the early symptoms of HIV. Freddie was hoping it could have been something else because there was no Kaposi sarcoma yet. He had most likely contracted the virus that summer. Although it's not known how Freddie got it, it has been confirmed that he did have a one-night stand with a man named John Murphy, who previously had sex with Gaetan Duga.
Oh, he's part of that network, unfortunately.
Queen's SNL appearance would be their last performance in the U.S.
Wow.
According to Freddie's assistant, Peter Freeston, Freddie's symptoms got worse and worse. Blackouts, tremors, swollen lymph nodes, fatigue, night sweats, mouth ulcers, and throat infections. He took care of himself as best he could and soldiered on.
He's not like going out late at night doing all the coke and any of those parties right now while he's getting back on track.
He recovers somewhat, but he does continue to party.
It's hard not to.
It's hard to accept.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to believe that he might have it. And again, not all of them were convinced that it spread through sex at that time.
Yeah.
Queen's next album was The Works in 1984. It was considered a return to form after Hot Space. This is the one with Radio Gaga, which was a huge hit.
All we need is...
And unfortunately gave us Lady Gaga because she named herself after that song.
Oh, okay.
The monsters.
And after that, you know what they did? Live Aid in 1985. Bob Geldof, you remember him?
Oh, God. Can't forget the Geldof.
He was organizing a large benefit concert to raise money for famine relief in Ethiopia. Freddie didn't return Geldof's calls at first
Because his wife was getting dicked down.
By Michael Hutchins.
because Queen had been snubbed for the charity song, Do They Know It's Christmas?
Oh.
It's believed they were left out because the band had played multiple dates in Sun City, South Africa, and this was in the apartheid era.
You're not supposed to play that because of, no, remember that little Stevie song? I ain't gonna play Sun City. No.
They claimed they weren't political, and that's why they played it for the people, but they have since regretted that.
I bet.
But a year on, it appeared that it was all water under the bridge. After getting tired of waiting for a response from Freddie, Geldof called Queen's manager, Jim Beach, and said, "Tell the old it's going to be the biggest thing that ever happened."
Wait, what? Bob Geldof said this.
Yes, to Queen's manager.
No wonder his wife was dicking Michael Hutchins.
With that,
He was such a sympathetic character.
Yeah.
Queen was officially booked. They negotiated a primetime spot
That's what it takes, I guess.
around 6:30 p.m.
Talking dirty.
and rehearsed for days beforehand. On Saturday, July 13th, 1985, Queen took the stage to a live audience of 72,000 and were broadcast to probably 1 billion worldwide. With a tight, energetic 20-minute set full of hits, Queen, and particularly Freddie, stole the show. And he was wearing a white vest and Wrangler jeans, like a boss.
Like a boss, like Rick Ross.
Well, it was between him and Bono who was the more standout of that.
And Queen
that
won.
Live Aid. Okay.
It's often regarded as one of the
Queen beat
best
everybody.
stage performances of all time.
100%.
Shall we see? Way better voice than Bono, I'd say.
And way better than
1,000,000%.
Yoko Ono. She tried to copy him.
Dedo.
Dedo.
Dedos.
Hey!
Dedo.
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 So Live Aid put Queen back on top. The only problem was Freddie's future was uncertain at best. 3 days after Live Aid, another notable figure was about to make headlines that would eventually shatter the wall of silence regarding HIV and AIDS. Actor Rock Hudson joined his former co-star and lifelong friend Doris Day for a press conference to launch her new show. Rock Hudson looked gaunt and much older than his 59 years. The press speculated he had cancer. Later that month, he collapsed at the airport in Paris, France. They later told the press that he collapsed at his hotel room at the Ritz because he thought it sounded better.
Oh, my God.
No.
So Rock Hudson was forced to admit he had AIDS because he was admitted to a Paris hospital and they wouldn't treat him unless he did.
I never knew this because I know Rock Hudson, and I know if people are looking at this picture that we have up right now, you're probably just as confused as I am because I know Rock Hudson as this picture.
Yeah.
And that was the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable.
It's shocking.
Completely, you can't even tell. It's the same person.
And he was good friends with Ronald and Nancy Reagan. And they ignored his desperate request for help.
Shut
Wow.
up.
Pretended they didn't know him.
Yeah.
And Rock went on to die on October 2nd that same year, 1985.
My God.
And the world was absolutely stunned.
Did
at
Ronnie
the
and Nancy
news.
go to the funeral? I wonder.
No, nothing to do with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, they drop it like a hot potato.
And
those
there's
people.
a picture of them together just a year before.
Wow.
Him with the Reagans.
Oh well, never heard of them.
What's AIDS?
What day is it?
If Rock hadn't collapsed while going, because he was going there to receive secret treatments because he knew he had AIDS.
Yeah.
If he hadn't have collapsed, he might have died eventually and they would have just said cancer and nobody would have thought anything of it.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of people didn't even know he was gay then.
Yeah.
It wasn't until his AIDS diagnosis that he told the world the truth about himself.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't know he had AIDS.
Or that he was gay.
Oh.
I wouldn't have talked to him.
I'd help you, but you know, I think it's contagious.
Yeah. Get this AIDS off of me. Tear down this AIDS.
By the end of the year, Freddie grew tired of Munich and the whole damn scene. He broke up with his current lovers, Vinnie Kirkberger and Barbara Valentine, and abandoned the city.
So the scene got lame there. So he's like, I've had enough of this.
And he got AIDS.
That'll do it too.
Mr. Gorbachev? I just went Kennedy on that one.
Barbara Valentine recalled an incident where Freddie cut himself, and when she went to help him, he screamed, "No, don't touch me!"
Well,
Yeah, it's smart.
yeah, I think people were still afraid of everything going on. No one knew.
People are afraid of hugging and kissing. Never mind
Yeah,
blood.
or- yeah.
You can actually get it from blood.
Or being in the same room as someone who has AIDS at this time.
Yeah.
And they were lepers. They were treated as such then.
Yeah.
It's scary. If you were in that
Well, it's
situation.
a CDC emergency.
It-
Like,
yeah.
they don't know.
It's sad knowing that we were all like alive in the 70s and 80s, and now we know exactly how to treat something like that or how to not get it.
Yeah.
And literally in our lifetime, they had no idea.
Well, it's sickening that it was gay liberation followed by the plague.
Yeah.
Because that's such a cruel.
Well, I think the Reagan people and all their religious. That's when the religious right really started taking over the Republican Party, and that was their outlook on life is they are paying for their bad behavior, like that. Like it's suffering because of things that they did.
Exactly. It's like, it's your penance.
That's what Jerry Falwell said.
Meanwhile,
Oh my
all
God.
these.
Thank God he's fucking
Yeah,
dead.
remember he used to say, "Yeah, you see that hurricane that happened yesterday? It's because of gay people."
I hope his death was painful.
Yeah.
I fucking hope he's rotting in hell if there is one.
And meanwhile, those guys like those televangelists and stuff, they're like Bob and Tammy Faye Baker. They're stealing millions of dollars from people who just give them money because they think they're doing God's work.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
As usual, Freddie threw himself into his work. After a so-so reception for his first solo effort, Mr. Bad Guy, Freddie focused on Queen's next album, titled A Kind of Magic. They capitalized off the success of Live Aid with the anthem One Vision. It also had a bunch of songs from the movie Highlander, which they did the soundtrack for.
No, I just still never seen that.
They did the whole soundtrack?
Yeah, and then
Highlander?
Yeah, and then Kind of Magic doubled as the Highlander soundtrack and also a new Queen album.
Wow.
I should check that out.
So two badass movies that had super gay soundtracks. Highlander,
Okay.
And
Batman, the original.
with the Prince, yeah.
No, Bad Dance? Are you kidding me?
Gay.
That's one of the straightest songs ever.
No.
Vicky Vale. I want to bust that body. Vicky Vale. That's one of my favorite songs ever. So now what's up? I want to be like Freddie. Fuck you.
Yeah,
What are you going to do about it?
the Bad Dance.
Nothing. The bad dance I'm going to do about it.
That's my number one running song, Bat Dance. It gets me going. No, not joking. It's one of my favorite
you
songs.
serious?
That's
I'm
amazing.
100% serious. As serious as the AIDS crisis.
Wow.
And he's a Packers fan.
Yeah, pack it in.
Fudge Packers fan.
Oh, yeah, that's the first time I've heard that one. Kyle's been swinging and missing today.
The attempt has been made.
While not so hot in the U.S. anymore, Queen did sell a lot of albums in the UK. I got a little tripped up there.
They're still darlings in the UK.
Yes, and the U.S. kind of gave up on them after the Game album with Another One Bites the Dust. Don't know why. They just fell out of favor.
Yeah.
So after the release of A Kind of Magic in summer of 1986, Queen embarked on a 26-city European tour, a highlight being 2 sold-out shows at Wembley Stadium. And guess who opened for them?
You too.
In Excess.
Oh,
Hey.
crossover.
And clashed with the Queen fans. I guess they were throwing things at them.
Really?
Wow.
In Excess was, I don't
Maybe
know.
they heard about the Geldof affair.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, well, I think there was a big people were turning against In Excess, and maybe it was because of that. Actually, what year was this?
86 is a little early.
A little early. Okay.
They were a young band. That's why they're opening
Yeah.
for Queen.
Sure.
Wow. And they just did not respect them. That's
Yeah.
scary. To have 100,000 people just being like, fuck you, mate.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
When me and my family went to see Joan Baez back in the day, there was this really hip, cool opener. It was like this indie girl.
Yeah.
And the old fogies in the audience were like, "We want Joan."
Oh my God.
Who the fuck is Joan Baez?
Okay, let's just move on.
We don't have time for that.
I don't have time to teach Kyle rock history.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Freddie complained to his bandmates that he was getting tired of touring and couldn't do it much longer. And they don't know, by the way, at this point.
They don't know the AIDS?
No,
Oh,
not at all. Not many people know.
Yeah.
Because he's keeping it secret. He doesn't want the attention. And he's scared himself. And he still hasn't confirmed it.
Okay.
Oh.
It must be, maybe they're still working on the test, like the.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember the COVID test took forever?
Yeah, it did take forever. The final show on the tour took place at Nebworth Park on August 9th, 1986, in front of 120,000
You
fans.
did a birth?
We're getting closer to Kyle's birthday.
I was
Yeah.
supposed to be born on the 8th,
Yeah.
Okay.
the day after.
So Kyle's a fetus during this. Or a baby.
big
He's
fat
a baby.
Yeah.
Pretty much a baby sitting in the belly at this point.
10-pound fetus.
Yeah.
Freddie.
He's a living birth defect.
Yeah, that's after he's born.
Yeah.
Freddie closed the show wearing a Queen of England crown and royal robe with sneakers during their signature instrumental, God Save the Queen. It would be his final concert ever.
He's actually very, he's very into his country. He's very into being English and stuff. And he's like, one of those first generation immigrants who just loves the idea of being an English person.
Mm-hmm.
He loves the grandiosity of it.
That's right, because he's from Tanzania. Or pre-Tanzania.
Zanzibar.
Yeah, but he's adopted his new home and just like wants to be a big.
And he
English-
was hiding his history, remember? He wasn't real
Yeah.
forthcoming that he was born in Zanzibar.
changed his name. Yeah.
Zanzibar, I didn't even know was a country. I just thought it was a restaurant that Jack Black shouted out on Fuck Her Gently.
Of all the places I didn't think we were going.
What's your
very good,
favorite
yeah.
dish? I'm not going to make it, but I'm going to order it from Zanzibar.
So while we're going through the history, when Kyle is still a fetus, can we abort Kyle in the history
Please
of this
do.
story?
Happily.
Yeah.
I just disappear.
Where's the vaccine for Kyle?
The doctor comes in. No, does he have AIDS? No, it's worse.
Yeah, it's worse.
Much
He's
worse.
Kyle.
Yeah, it's Kyle. He's got a basket of bad references. Weird shit he's going to talk about in the future. Can we get rid of it? It's against the law. We can't do it now.
I guess not.
Yeah, I guess
We gotta put up
reverse
with it.
abortum. I guess we'll have it.
So later in 1986, after a trip to Japan, Freddie came back home to see the headline in the paper News of the World, which, remember, they
The
had an
Murdoch
album.
family, that rag.
Yeah, and they had an album called News of the World.
Yep, that's true.
Named after that. Yeah, the Murdochs, by the way, pieces of shit.
Of
The
course.
The way they treated Freddie at this time.
Oh, really?
So he comes home to see the headline, Queen star Freddie in AIDS shock. And then he responded to them, do I look as though I'm dying? But in reality, He was.
He's in full-blown denial.
Freddie had taken one test for
And
HIV
AIDS.
Yeah.
for HIV in 1985 when they first became available. You were just asking about that.
Yeah.
The result came back positive that he had been exposed to the virus, but doctors informed him the results were not 100% reliable,
Oh, God.
giving him false hope. Freddie allegedly took another 10 tests the following year with similar outcomes, waiting in vain for a result that came back negative. In April 1987, Freddie finally got the diagnosis that he had been dreading when he had a biopsy performed on a lesion on his shoulder. His doctor confirmed it was Kaposi's sarcoma, the skin cancer that usually occurs 3 to 7 years after initial infection.
Jesus.
Another doctor confirmed the results and informed him that the HIV had progressed into full-blown AIDS, meaning his body was no longer able to fight off infections by itself.
So it's just an amount of time now until he's
It's
gone.
a
Yeah.
time game. He doesn't know if he has 1 year, 3 years.
Those last days are really tough with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, because like in the 90s, people would use HIV and AIDS like interchangeably. They're not.
Yeah.
HIV you can get, and it's horrible, but now you can survive on that for
Magic
years
Johnson.
and years and years.
So livable now. You
Yeah.
can absolutely have a complete, normal, healthy life with HIV thanks to the current medications.
Yes, but if you got HIV in like the 80s or 90s, people were like, "Oh, you have AIDS," and it's like, no, AIDS is like the last stop on that train, which is it's absolutely deadly. You can't stop AIDS.
Yeah.
So you have to stop HIV from becoming AIDS.
Yeah.
It's
And it takes a while to progress into AIDS.
yes.
Sometimes 7 years.
Exactly. So it's like you have so much time after finding out that you have HIV to stop it from becoming that. And that's the tragedy of all this.
So I wonder when he actually did contract the HIV.
They
or
think it's summer 1982
82.
when he was visiting New York City multiple times because that's where he really let loose.
Man.
And then Gaetan Dugat got it around 1974.
Wow.
So it's associated with the 80s, but a lot of it started in the 70s.
Yeah.
And they
it had
didn't
been
know.
building up for a while.
Yeah. So as the lesions later spread to Freddie's face, he grew a beard to cover them up, and he lived under a veil of secrecy. He would receive medical attention during off hours, wearing a big hat and coat. Unlike most people, he could actually afford to seek treatments anywhere in the world, like Rock Hudson. By the late 80s, an antiretroviral drug called AZT was fast-tracked by the FDA for treating AIDS.
That's in the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a huge treatment. I thought it was in the 90s. I didn't realize it was 80s that this happened.
But it was in an early stage and not working so well.
Yeah.
My a friend of mine in high school, he wasn't a friend of mine, an acquaintance. He hated this bio teacher, so he started a rumor that he was
Oh, God.
he was
Oh, no.
well, not a friend of mine. Again, not a friend of mine.
You have AIDS!
No, he started a rumor that this teacher was found in the woods behind the school having sex with a guy, and they had a bunch of AZT on them. Like
What a
as if they
weird,
needed-
like, lie to make up.
It was like a Richard Gere thing. It swept the entire town. Everyone was
The nation.
because the guy was kind of weird anyway.
so it was believable.
It was kind of believable.
But why would you be fucking in a circle of AZT packets?
Yeah, it didn't make any.
And it's not-
When I was a kid, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, you probably have to
Are you
have.
kidding me?
You have to have that on you the whole time.
And why would you be fucking with AZT? It's not like it's a lube.
Yeah, it didn't make any. It doesn't make any sense now, but at that time we were like, oh, that's real.
What people will probably be like, stay away from them.
Well, it turned out this teacher just gave him a bad grade, and we didn't know who started the rumor.
Oh, Jesus.
We didn't know who started the rumor, and we found out like last year. I found out it was this kid.
Oh,
Just
my
last year, you
God.
finally
I
figured
found
it all
I found
out.
Yeah, I was under the belief that he was really having sex with AZT.
Well, that's the thing with these things. The fucking rumors can catch fire, and you have no idea what the truth is and what it's actually not.
Exactly.
What a way to get revenge for a B+ on the Scarlet Letter paper.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah.
He was fucking a kid against a tree surrounded by AZT packets.
Yeah.
Jesus. You think Gary Glitter just had a disgruntled student or something?
Yeah, probably.
He went to prison.
He went
for
to
it.
Framingham.
Yeah. Framingham.
So, AZT, Freddie anxiously begins taking it as the drug appeared to have positive effects, improvement in weight gain, higher T4 cell counts, and minimized infections. People were happy to be guinea pigs at this time because that was their only hope of surviving.
Oh, of
if you
course.
had the virus.
Yeah.
It was not a cure, but it would prolong lives.
Uh-huh.
So they thought at the time. But there were a host of bad side effects, including extreme anemia, and in some cases, the depletion of T4 cell counts. So it would go up and down. So can you imagine taking this, and then not only is it not working, but sometimes it's making you feel worse.
It's like a roller
And it's
coaster
your
ride.
big hope that you think might cure you.
Yeah. And it's fucked up because what HIV and AIDS does is destroy your T cell counts, and now the treatment is destroying your T cell counts even quicker.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, some people died very fast after taking it, thinking that it was going to help them. And others did have prolonged lives. It's just that sort of thing.
And they probably have to sign off on everything saying, like, this is experimental.
And again, when you're covered in those lesions and your days are numbered, you'll do anything.
Yeah.
So Freddie's best friend, Peter Straker, said Freddie kept everything to himself and never talked about his treatments, despite the fact that it was all around him. People he knew, including John Murphy, the guy that had sex with Gaetan Dugas, and James Winthrall and Tony Baston, all died by AIDS at this point.
Jesus.
People were dropping like crazy from that stuff.
His circle of friends was getting smaller and smaller. He even cut out his friend Peter Straker. He cut him out of his life just because he wanted to be
Did Straker
alone.
get it too?
I don't believe so. He's still alive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But his best friend. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
In his final years, Freddie split his time between London and Montreux, Switzerland. He bought a house there near Mountain Studios, where Queen recorded most of their albums, actually.
Wow.
His other sanctuary was Garden Lodge in Kensington, an 8-bedroom Georgian mansion with high brick walls surrounding the estate and an extensive garden. Ex-girlfriend Mary Austin spotted the place in 1980, and Freddie Mercury purchased it for £500,000 within 30 minutes of seeing it. His lifestyle changed significantly. And this is a clip from an interview he gave in 1987.
The AIDS thing affected you. Well, which is a very topical. Which it is. Freddie, how has the AIDS
Freddie, how is you dying affecting you?
It's going great.
What the fuck?
thing affected you? Well, which is a very topical.
Which it is, yes. Well, I mean, I tell you, listen, I've stopped going out, whatever, and to be honest, I tell you, I've almost become a nun. Really, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought sex was a very important thing to me, and I lived through sex and everything, and now I just realise how amazing. I've just gone completely that way, and yes, it's frightened me to death. And then I've just stopped having sex. Basically.
Have you?
Yes. Yeah.
You've given up sex?
Yeah. To me, sex was a very integral ingredient to what I was doing.
Mm.
It was excess in every direction, and I don't miss it. I really don't.
Well, yeah, when it's gotten to that point, it's, it becomes less pleasurable.
Yeah,
it
it
becomes
goes from
terrifying.
"Don't stop me now" to "Please stop me."
Yeah, for real.
His new boyfriend, Jim Hutton, a ruggedly handsome Irishman, eventually moved in with him and would stay by his side until his dying day. They met years earlier at the Copacabana, a club near his home, Garden Lodge. But Hutton was unavailable when Freddie first put the moves on him, telling the singer, "Fuck off," not realizing who he was. They later reconnected.
Wow.
Freddie would introduce Jim as the gardener. So he's still hiding his sexuality. In public, he would be seen with Mary by his side.
Still doing that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
This fucking trauma runs deep, man.
It's awful the way they made gay people feel.
Yeah.
At home, he surrounded himself with beloved cats, photos, and art collectibles. He loved his pussies.
Hey.
He and Jim loved also
in feline form
old movies, and they would watch flicks like Some Like It Hot and Imitation of Life. As Freddie ducked out of the public eye as much as possible, tabloid rags continued to be relentless in their pursuit of his personal life. To make matters worse, Freddie's former manager, Paul Prenter, spilled salacious details to the Sun.
Oh, no.
And I'm talking about the paper, not the thing in
Also
the sky.
owned by the Murdoch family.
So Paul Prenter was still bitter after being fired by Freddie for throwing a huge party at his house without permission. In the tell-all interview, Prenter claimed that Freddie once phoned him in an AIDS panic. He named Jim Hutton as his boyfriend. He said that Freddie drank excessively and did cocaine with David Bowie and Rod Stewart.
I bet.
Everyone's probably going, so?
Yeah.
And
yeah, for real.
he provided photos of some of Freddie's lovers. As Freddie's health got worse, music seemed to be the only thing that kept him going. In 1987, he released a hit cover version of The Great Pretender as a solo artist. And that song also served as a kind of description of Freddie in general. He kind of was the great pretender.
Yeah.
And then he collaborated on the classical pop album Barcelona with opera singer Montserrat Caballé,
Barcelona.
a close friend
Cristina Barcelona.
who was one of the few who knew about his diagnosis.
Shit.
Then we got Queen's next album, the first since the Magic Tour and A Kind of Magic, called The Miracle, released in May 1989. During the recording process, Freddie would disappear to receive treatments, and his bandmates were starting to suspect something. But at the same time, Brian May recalls it being a rather happy experience because they were so inspired, and this is the first album that they all decided to share songwriting credit, so it's all credited to Queen. And they just felt like really inspired to make this album.
Wait, so Freddie Mercury was always the songwriter?
No, they all wrote songs, which is interesting about that band. Not many bands have it where all members wrote at least one major hit song because John Deacon did Another One Bites the Dust and You're My Best Friend. Brian May wrote We Will Rock You,
So
etc.
it was like a meritocracy. Whoever had the best songs, you get the credit for the ones that you did.
And so no one was starving.
No, they're all insanely rich.
They're all getting songwriting
It's not
credit.
just
That's
him. Yeah, like U2 does that. They share all the maybe that's where they got that idea.
Could be.
Because it doesn't like create bitterness within the band. Like Billy Corgan.
I was gonna say
famously-
Smashing Pumpkins. That is
Smashing
like
Pumpkins.
biggest thing.
He was like, they took him aside at the beginning, like, you better share all the publishing with these people or it's going to turn bad. He's like, nah, fuck that. I need to make that.
I wrote the song.
Yeah, fuck that. You know, Billy Corgan. Like,
And they're like, you could give a little bit to them, and he's like, no, give me what I'm worth. Like, give me the fucking songwriting
which
credits.
is a little
and he
bitch
goes,
thing.
but I didn't know how much it was gonna be.
Yeah, that's true. Like,
And so after he made so much money, he fucking was like, okay, I can see why you guys are mad at me.
they could have been doing like crazy tours, like, you know, for year in and year out. But he always had some rotating group of people that always wanted to leave him because he's such a maniac. I love his music, but he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Talk about Billy Corgan.
Yeah. He also wrote Celebrity Skin and didn't get much from that either. So what goes around comes around.
Exactly.
The whole album I'm referring to.
The whole album.
And now I'm referring to the Miracle album,
Yes.
Queen's 1989 release, which is a fantastic album.
What's the big song off that?
The Miracle?
Yeah, so there's none.
No, but you guys aren't as big Queen fans as I am.
Yeah.
Because I always loved this album and the song The Miracle. It's a lot of great stuff on this, hard rock, and I think this is a true return to form.
I was more of a greatest hits fan myself.
I understand, but The Miracle was on one of the greatest hits CDs.
Okay.
But to me,
you just like the greatest hits?
Well, this is one of them.
it's shocking to know that he was battling AIDS during this album. I'm talking from when I first heard it.
Yeah.
Because you would never assume that his voice is still as strong as ever.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
After the album's release, Mercury did no press for it. He did appear in the videos, and for the titular song,
Love it.
they had the ingenious idea of using kids to lip sync the lyrics.
Yeah, this picture we have up right now, if you're looking at our video, this looks like a terrible Nickelodeon show.
But I implore our audience to go and watch the music video for The Miracle by Queen.
Yeah.
I think
You won't
that's
regret
cute,
it.
though. That's funny.
This is an amazing music video.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just watch it.
Hell yeah.
And Mercury joked that maybe they should send the kids on tour for them.
Well, he's probably that tired, too. I don't think he had it in him.
Yeah, they couldn't tour.
Yeah.
He definitely couldn't tour. So The Miracle was a huge success worldwide. That summer, the band traveled to Montreux and got right to work on their next album because they don't know how much time they have left and they're suspecting something. Over dinner one evening, Freddie came clean. And here's a clip of Brian May and Roger Taylor talking about that.
We wanted to think it was something else, maybe to do
Still
with his liver
smoking,
or something.
too.
There was a certain amount of self-deception going on, and then I think in the end it became fairly obvious, and then in the end he sort of frankly told us.
The first time we really knew was when we got together in Montreux. And Freddie just sat down and said, okay, you guys probably know what's going on with me. You know what I'm dealing with. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to take any action apart from carrying on the way we are. I want to keep making music for as long as I fucking can. And we will not dwell on it. We'll just go on. And so we all went, okay. And that was it.
Yeah, so he said, write me as much as possible. I'll sing it. Because that was all he had left was his voice. And he said that when he could no longer sing, that's when he'll drop dead. His final public appearance was at the Brit Awards on February 18th, 1990. They were presented the award for Outstanding Contribution to British Music.
So this is like almost a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah.
Award for an outstanding contribution to British music goes to Queen. Thank you. Good night.
Wow.
I cut out the part where Brian May spoke, but that was all that Freddie said.
It would have been better if that was the whole thing where he's like, thank you, fuck off.
So yeah, people were like, you don't look so good.
He was like the center of the band, and he would have like tons of things to say typically, but then he's like very quick, and you know things aren't added up.
No tour for The Miracle.
Yeah.
He looks very thin there.
Yeah.
Not saying much.
Yeah.
And that brings us to February 1991. Innuendo, their follow-up to The Miracle, is released.
Innuendo, pal.
And it's another
Been holding on to that one for a while.
commercial success. The title song hits #1 in the UK, and the video to promote it used animation.
Ooh.
So people were starting to wonder, where's Freddie hiding and why?
Oh, shit.
And by the way, Innuendo, another very strong album, and the song is awesome. That's all I have to say. No, because it's kind of like flamenco meets hard rock meets Queen.
I don't know it. I don't.
It's great.
I mean,
Anyway.
in this, promo photo, it does seem like things are different. He seems like this is like the first generation Robert Smith.
Okay, yeah, so you're looking at the photo from the video shoot for I'm Going Slightly Mad.
And that's
Yes.
clearly a wig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of makeup on his face. Now he looks like Michael Jackson a little bit.
Freddie was severely ill, but was continuing to record vocals for yet another planned album after Innuendo. Sometimes he could hardly stand or sit. Then he'd take shots of vodka and hit the high notes.
Man.
At this point, he had a small catheter installed to ease the intake of medication intravenously, and it wasn't visible. It was under his shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So to shut down speculation, they said, okay, Freddie, maybe you should appear in a couple of videos. So that's the picture we're looking at now for I'm Going Slightly Mad. And to mask his condition, he had the idea of being a wacky Noel Coward type character. He's wearing a wig, heavy makeup, and the video is filled with all kinds of wacky imagery, and it's shot in black and white. Then they made a video for the song These Are the Days of Our Lives, written by Roger Taylor about his family, but it actually was about Freddie as well. The video was shot on May 30th, 1991 in London. Freddie appeared pale and gaunt. He was in immense pain from lesions on his foot and could hardly move. He had to stand still, static. He wore his favorite waistcoat decorated with images of his cats. And this was the last time he was in front of the video camera. And we have a clip here. The first part of the clip is the color version without the black and white filter added. And later, you'll see the filter they added for the finished product.
Sometimes I get to feeling I was back in the old days, long ago.
Man, he looks awful.
Those days are all gone now, but one thing's still true. When I look and I find I still love you.
Even with all the makeup and everything going on, they're still, messing with the contrast and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really brutal.
So he looks straight into the camera and says, I still love you, then does a swish of the hand and leaves the frame. And that's his last word.
That's it.
That's it.
My God. And I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they showed that in Bohemian Rhapsody.
No.
Yeah.
Again, the movie, it's Once Upon a Time in England.
Yeah.
The movie ends with him telling his
Live
bandmate,
Aid.
that he has AIDS at Live Aid.
Yeah, it's like Live Aid, like the biggest, like, da-da-da, and everyone's going crazy.
Then there's like a still freeze frame. By the way, Freddie died of AIDS like 10 years later.
Yeah, it's
Then,
like,
we cut to the
Jesus.
grave. Oh, yeah, too bad about Freddie.
And he won the Oscar without having to do that part, which that would be like the Oscar-winning part.
That's the real nitty-gritty, like the grittiness of this role.
He had an easy Oscar win.
Jesus.
Of like
And he had to lip sync.
the hiding of everything. And
Granted, he did a great job.
Lip syncing.
Yes.
Joaquin Phoenix actually sang those songs in Walk the Line.
So I heard.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freddie posed for one more photo on August 28th, 1991. Jim Hutton captured Freddie standing in front of his Japanese garden with his beloved cat by his side. Days later, he surprised close friends by hosting a birthday party out of the blue. They had dinner and champagne, and then when he got too tired, he said, "Stay if you like, or fuck off." So not a big show compared to his other parties.
I hate saying this, but I can't help but think that he looks like Pee Wee Herman right there.
I was going to say the same thing. I was like, I don't want to disrespect this podcast, but this looks like Paul Rubens.
But really quick, I just wanted to say that.
And really quick, I just wanted to go,
Yeah, so in this photo in his garden, his pants are pulled up really high because he's so thin, they won't stay up. And he looks somewhat at peace.
Yeah.
if it Live Aid, instead of him going, no, it's just him going, no.
Jesus.
All right, so
a man is dying here, Kyle.
Well, not yet.
I brought it up.
now this episode is dying.
I know.
No, it's living, baby.
The Sun newspaper, the Murdochs, showed no mercy in the coming weeks as Freddie wasted away. They published a photo of him outside his home after running errands. They caught him looking like a ghoul, and they published it.
They exploit every thing about anyone. And
Yeah,
that's why
nice.
that's their business model. You know, they got caught, hacking the phone of the kidnapped girl, McCann. Remember that happened like 10 years ago? This is what they do.
He made one more trip to Montreux in October 1991 before returning to Garden Lodge in Kensington to live the rest of his days in peace. The final single from Innuendo had just been released, October 1991, and that single, The Show Must Go On, which again, that's a classic Queen song.
Yeah.
And he recorded that in his dying days, and his vocals are as strong as ever. Go listen to The Show Must Go On.
Yeah.
That is not a dying man, but it was.
Jeez.
And of course, Brian May wrote that about Freddie. So it was very poignant that he was singing those lyrics.
With the ability to make music gone, what more did he have left to live for? While in Switzerland, he had taken the decision to finally stop the medication that was keeping him alive. He would still take painkillers. They were necessary to keep the intense pain at bay, but drugs such as ganciclovir and Septrin would have no further place. Freddie had lived life his way and lived it fully.
Freddie lost all strength and was starting to go blind. He could no longer leave his bed without assistance.
Blind, jeez.
Mary Austin made regular trips to see him and made sure that he was as comfortable as possible. His family even came to see him, and he told his sister that he had incurable blood disease.
Not wrong, but obviously...
Still sugarcoating a little bit.
But AIDS is not as well known right now, is it? I don't know.
No, and he didn't come out to his parents ever.
Wow. Like his disease or sexuality?
He said Jim Hutton was his good friend.
Oh, right. Okay, you're right.
Among the other friends who came to see him were Elton John and Dave Clark of the Dave Clark Five. Apparently, they were really good friends.
Was that an actor or was that a singer?
Singer, the Dave Clark Five.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
Also living in the house was Joe Finelli, who was the chef and former lover of Freddie Mercury.
Oh, my God.
It's like Downton Abbey over here.
Yeah, no one leaves.
Thursday, November 21st, 1991. Jim Hutton helped Freddie downstairs in the wee hours of the morning to look at photos and admire his art collection. So he sat on his sofa with all the lights on and just looked around the room. Friday, November 22nd, 1991, Freddie's assistant, Peter Freeston, called Queen's manager, Jim Beach, over to the house. Freddie was in and out of consciousness, but they talked for over 5 hours in his bedroom, interrupted only by Joe delivering refreshments. Afterwards, Jim Beach told everyone that Freddie wished to release a statement to the press announcing he had AIDS. They released the statement at midnight so that the proper news channels could report it rather than the tabloids. The statement read, quote, "Following the enormous conjecture in the press over the last 2 weeks, I wish to confirm that I have been tested HIV positive and have AIDS. I hope that everyone will join with me, my doctors, and all those worldwide in the fight against this terrible disease." That's not the whole statement, but you get the point. Freddie had a peaceful night following the release of the statement, but then a restless one on Saturday and into Sunday morning. At one point, he almost choked on a piece of mango, which got lodged in his throat. Around 6 a.m., Jim Hutton helped Freddie to the bathroom, but then while lowering him back into bed, he heard a distressing crack. They called his doctor over, Dr. Atkinson, who gave him an injection of morphine. At some point between 6:30 and 6:45 p.m., Dr. Atkinson was leaving to go get food. Jim Hutton and Peter Freeston were escorting him to the car. But when they got back inside, Dave Clark came downstairs to ask for help taking Freddie to the bathroom. But when they re-entered the bedroom, Freddie was no longer breathing. So Dr. Atkinson rushed back to help him, but sadly realized there was nothing more that could be done. So at 6:48 p.m., Sunday, November 24th, 1991, Freddie Mercury was pronounced dead. A small funeral service was held a few days later, and he was cremated in accordance with his family's Zoroastrian faith.
Yeah.
Freddie left 50% of his estate to his sister and parents. So sister got 25%, his parents got 25%, and then the other 50% to Mary Austin,
Really?
who also inherited Garden Lodge.
That big house.
Oh, my
Nice.
God.
Jim Hutton.
Not nice, but like, at least she got some.
So that was the place that was next to her place.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Jim Hutton, his partner, got 500,000 pounds among other gifts.
And he snuck in at the end.
I know.
He did a little slide safe.
Yeah. 500 grand?
Yeah.
By the way, Jim,
Good for him.
not to step on your joke, but Jim Hutton was also HIV positive and died in 2010.
Jeez.
And Joe,
He stuck around a lot longer.
yeah. And Joe Finelli, the chef, was also dying of AIDS at this time and died months later.
Man.
Jesus. Yeah, so Jim Hutton got 500 grand right there at the end. Lived another 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you know how I said the Queen had fallen out of favor in the United States?
Yeah.
Well, 3 months after Freddie's death, a little movie came out.
Wayne's World.
Hit it.
Saw this in Quincy Center, baby.
Oh, God. We're back on
This
that
is my best
Cal
friend,
reality
Garth
tour.
Elgar.
Hi.
Hi.
This is
I
what
think
got
we'll
me
go a
into
little Bohemian Rhapsody, gentlemen.
Good call.
Got everyone into it.
So good.
I see a little silhouette of a man. Scaramouche, you do the fandango. Thunderbolt of lightning, very, very frightening me.
Galileo.
So you think you can stone me and spit in my eye? So you think you can love me and leave me to die?
Oh, baby.
Amazing song. Like, oh, it's Queen? Really? And then you look them up and you realize there was this amazing band you'd never heard of.
The studio wanted to use Guns N' Roses like Appetite for Destruction or something.
Mike Myers fought for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
And then it hit the top of the U.S. charts again after Wayne's World's release because Wayne's World made $100 million more.
Yeah.
And then
did?
Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah. It was one of the biggest hits of the year.
Yeah.
Wow.
All Mike Myers movies were just like fucking,
Well,
for the
that-
most part, except for So I Married an Axe Murder.
That has to be the biggest SNL release.
Absolutely. There's
Yeah.
no comparison.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's
What,
no other-
Coneheads?
Yeah, Conehead. There's no other SNL movie that's done over $100 million that I know of.
No way. Not
It's
lost,
Pat.
not
Definitely
lost and
didn't
found.
touch that.
Lost and found. Didn't do
Yeah.
Granted, we love It's Pat.
it. 8 heads in a duffel bag didn't do as good.
Superstar, Ladies Man. Yeah, sorry.
What was the one
Was
where
Eight
they?
Heads SNL?
No.
No. It was
But it had David Spade.
It had David Spade.
Yeah.
What was the one? The Night at the Roxbury.
With Chris Kattan.
Oh, yeah.
Emilio.
Such a bad movie.
We had the one moment where they say, Emilio.
So that proves my case that 90s SNL was the best cast. Because I heard Lauren say, like, well, usually it's the time that you're in high school you think that's the best cast. But also...
No, but 90 to 99 is undefeated. Like,
Yeah.
that is amazing SNL cast.
Yeah.
You can't find another decade like that.
Never.
80s had great, and the 70s had great specific cast members.
Yeah.
But the whole way through, 90 to 99 is so fucking
Their
good.
impersonations were so funny because they were all inspired by Dana Carvey's version of just heightening to the absurdity that it's not even real person
Yeah.
anymore. It's just like, not gonna do it. You know, it's just like, it's amazing.
Yeah. And Wayne's World captured that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And it was able to propel Queen to another level
Yeah.
right after Freddie died.
And then I bought the greatest hits right after that.
I can't believe that. Yeah, he died the same
He
year it
died
came
so
out, right?
Queen could live.
It was months later.
Yeah.
Early 1992. February 1992 is when Wayne's World came out. He died late
a weird
November
timing.
1991. And
Yeah.
I've heard that he was aware of Wayne's World.
I'd like to see if he saw a rough cut
They
of it.
say that he saw some of it and that he was happy about it.
That's gotta be like a fever dream to be like, wait, people from SNL and then the guy from Married with Children is angrily in there somewhere.
No, but he doesn't even know.
Those scenes, the Ed O'Neill parts.
Oh, they're so good.
Who
Talking
could
about
have
killing a man?
predicted it though?
You just see the steam of the wounds of coming out or whatever. It was so good.
You could not have predicted that. Wayne's World opens with Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes.
And it skips the piano part for time, but it plays most of the song.
Yes.
And that's the
Swing.
whole opening of this $100 million blockbuster.
We got $5,000. We got $5,000.
So, yeah, they love Mike Myers.
Yeah.
The other members of Queen.
Pre-Shrek. Shrek.
Yeah. That kept Brian May in big hair for a while.
Yeah. The remaining members of Queen, along with manager Jim Beach, organized the Freddie Mercury tribute concert for AIDS awareness, which was held on April 20th, 4/20, 1992 at Wembley Stadium.
Wembley, Trembly Wembley.
Home of Live Aid and home of their last big concerts.
Oh, yeah.
The proceeds were used to launch Mercury Phoenix Trust, a charity organization dedicated to fighting AIDS. And if you remember from the George Michael episode, George Michael killed it at this concert.
Sure did.
Performing Somebody to Love.
Yes. Yeah, we played that clip and I almost cried.
Yeah.
And Axl Rose and Elton John performed Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
And John Deacon retired not long after. They released one more album under the Queen name called Made in Heaven in 1995, and that was using Mercury's last vocal recordings.
Wow.
Including one called Mother Love, where he told Brian May, "Oh, I can't finish the last verse, I'll do it next time." And there was no next time.
Oh, no.
So Brian May sings the final verse.
Wow.
After Made in Heaven, John Deacon retired. And he's worth like $100 million, the bassist.
Wow.
Because he wrote those songs, like Another One Bites the Dust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brian May and Roger Taylor decided that they didn't have enough money. So they've been taking Queen on the road however they can
really?
since then. Well, they have Adam Lambert now.
I didn't know they were touring still.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, with Adam Lambert.
They did that movie, which made $1 billion.
Yeah.
And then for a while, they were going around with Paul Rogers from Bad Company. And there was that Broadway show, We Will Rock You.
Yeah.
They have been
milking it.
Yeah. Oh, milk? Are you kidding? They're
Well,
like a couple of farmers. At
That's
this
probably
point.
why they didn't want the movie to be like some art house kind of like, gritty movie.
No, they couldn't have our version
They
of
wanted
it.
some broad, huge movie that everyone would get into.
Oh, I was so mad at my old roommate, who both of you know. He went and partied with Rami Malek while he was doing the filming for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Really?
And Remy called his brother, who has special needs, and they did a FaceTime together, and everybody was friends. It was all good. And
until
he gave him his cell phone numbers, come back, party here anytime, we'll hang out, blah, blah, blah. But he was too scared to hit him up because he was such a fan of Mr. Robot.
Yeah, and we all.
He was stunned by, or frozen in fear.
I don't want to bother this guy. Me and this dude, my roommate, went to the movies. There was a huge build out for Bohemian Rhapsody, and I was like, take a picture, send it to him, and say, hope you get the Oscar, because he was already nominated by that time. And he's like, he's not gonna fucking win it. I don't want to bother him. Then he fucking wins the Oscar, and I'm like, you're out. You're done forever.
Yeah, you'll never see that guy ever again.
Yeah, you're totally
not buddies with
he's
him.
done.
Yeah.
You've outlived your useful purpose.
Yeah,
He's on another level. Yeah, he doesn't need any minions at your level.
Yeah.
He needs yes men at this level.
Exactly. But yeah, you must be this tall to
Yeah.
be friends with Rami Malek, and he wasn't hitting that.
Not tall.
If you know what I mean.
And the last collaboration I want to mention is Brian May did a forgotten collab with some boy band for a remake of We Will Rock You, the song.
Oh, God.
In the early 2000s.
Jeez. And we will not play that.
Yeah, lesser known venture.
Yeah.
It's like at the end of Elvis when the Colonel was just having him do bubblegum songs and anything to just squeeze as much money out of this as he could possibly.
And in the Netflix documentary about Adam Lambert joining Queen, they actually made a documentary about this.
The worst thing ever.
Brian May says something like, with Freddie, it's like lightning in a bottle. You only get that magic rarely. And I truly believe we found that magic twice.
Yeah,
wow,
bullshit.
what a mean thing to say.
Don't get me wrong. Adam Lambert is a fantastic singer,
He
but
is.
he does not fit in with Freddie Mercury's voice.
He's like an American Idol guy, right?
No, but exactly. But you don't want to say like, oh, the lead singer of Queen was fine. Like, Freddie is a once in a lifetime fucking amazing singer.
Adam Lambert is the best guy at karaoke.
Adam Lambert, yeah.
That's
He's
all he is.
amazing. He's great on his own. He can fucking crush his own songs. But when it comes to Queen, it's like, you're not holding the candle, bro.
Doesn't every band do that? Like when their lead singer dies, they bring on Adam Lambert.
Yeah,
something
pretty
like
much.
that. Yeah. Or some version of that.
In Excess should have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. And then had the guy come out with the rope hanging around
around his dick and his neck.
and then burn Geldof and effigy every single night.
And then they tour with Queen and Adam Lambert.
Yeah, that'd be. I'd go see that.
Yeah, maybe Clay Aiken could be the In Excess guy. and
Wait, I have an idea. Who opens up for them? Great White.
Hey, you burn the place down before the concert starts.
Yeah, and then do a concert, and then after, then burn it down.
All right, kids. Final thoughts.
Rest in peace, Freddie Mercury.
Rest in peace.
Fucking once in a lifetime talent.
If not the
Genius
best
guy, genius
singer in rock and roll, definitely one of the best.
Great hype man, great singer, great all of it.
Great lover.
Okay.
We've heard from you, apparently.
Yeah. You're well versed in this.
Where have you two been this whole podcast?
Yeah, sucking and fucking across international waters.
You can't say he didn't have fun.
No, he lived a full life.
Every last bit of life.
How old was he when he died?
45.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's so scary the closer I get to 45.
I know.
I'm like, I haven't sucked and fucked that much.
Since the beginning of the AIDS pandemic, around 84 million people have been infected and 40 million people have died from it.
And the Reagan White House did nothing about it.
Did
and then
nothing.
The Bush administration, the first one, didn't do that much. I don't know.
It's not like they didn't do enough. It's like they actively harmed that entire community.
They ignored it, yeah.
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 So let's just hope one day there is an actual cure.
Oh, well.
And until then, if you're going to go have a bunch of sex, maybe sign up for PrEP, which blocks the contraction of HIV. And if you have HIV, there are medications where you can live a full, healthy life. Mic drop. Thanks for listening.
Yes.
Thank you.
100%.
Do we have a mailbag?
We do have a mailbag today. One of our newest, most talented fans, Ale Grimpgimp.
Sounds like something from Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, they have an amazing Instagram. I believe it's just Grimpgimp on Instagram. I'm going to look that up right now.
Oh, with all the skull
images.
Yes,
Yeah, so they're perfect for us.
we're big fans.
Big fans. It's just at Grimgimp, and I'm going to put that on the screen for you guys. But they wrote, this episode is so good. What episode was it?
The Rose Petal Murder.
The Rose Petal Murder. Grimp told us, this episode is so good. I've already listened to it twice. I've never heard of this case. It's crazy, which, yes, it is. And if you haven't listened to the Rose Petal Murder, we're going to give you the warning again. Don't listen to it if you're sensitive to certain topics, because that is one of the most offensive, not on our behalf, but the actual crimes we cover are so patently horrific.
It involves buggery and pedophilia and incest.
Yeah.
And then it gets bad.
Yeah.
Talk about true
and then
crime.
It gets bad. Yeah.
Talk about true crime unleashed.
Yeah. And also, Derek C. said, what percentage of vets are doing this to dogs? Apparently not 0, which is true. And you need to listen to the episode to find out what vets are doing to these dogs.
Yeah.
Spoiler, kinda. Hint, hint. Woof, woof.
We're actually gonna be setting up a voicemail soon, so people can just let it flow.
Yeah, just whenever you want to call us on Facebook or Instagram or try to find our phone numbers, just call this voicemail and just let it out.
Yeah.
We're talking to you, Jack.
We still love you.
We still love you.
Just call us and go crazy on our voicemail, and then we can play it on our actual show.
Yeah.
Other than that, please check out our patreon.com/Death and Entertainment.
Absolutely.
We have a whole bunch of content that a lot of people that subscribe to us on YouTube have not been able to see so far. So, it's all exclusive content, $5 or $10, and you get a whole bunch of stuff.
Certain levels, it's all explained there, and
Yes.
please get on that.
Yeah. So become an official Deado or Deado head.
Yeah.
Other than that, just find us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, everything at Death and Entertainment. And we'll be back every week to give you some more creepy content.
Because there's plenty of it out there.
Yeah.
We love you, darlings.
We love you.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Don't go dying on us.
You have just heard
A true Hollywood
Shocker. I have never seen anything like this before.
The movies, Broadway, music, television, all of it.
A place that manufactures nightmares.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap.
Good night. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon.